Exotic is a interesting rarity of item in Fortnite. It typically consists of items and weapons that have one unique quirk to them that make them stick out from their regular counterparts. And as has been heavily requested on this channel, I'm going to look at some of Fortnite's best exotic weapons of all time, just those weapons in the exotic rarity that just seem to stick out from the rest. If you'd like to see a part 2 to this video of some of Fortnite's worst exotic weapons, let me know in the comment section below. And with that all being said, let's get right into it. I would like to give an honorable mention to a couple of items on this list. Firstly, I want to give an honorable mention to Laser Beam's exotic Flintlock pistol. That Flintlock is really good and super fun to use, but it was only available in that specific tournament, LTM, not like public battle royale matches, so I'm not going to include it on this list, but it is super fun to use. And I also wanted to give a quick shout out to the Super Slap Splash because it is an incredible healing item, but I didn't want to include more than one healing item on this list, so the Super Slap Splash was left out, but it is a really incredible item. So firstly, I want to get this video started right out of the way. The best exotic weapon of all time is the Heisted Accelerant shotgun, or just the exotic Maven. I honestly think that it would be fair to say that this weapon is not just one of the best exotic weapons of all time, but one of the best Fortnite weapons of all time. And as I mentioned in the intro to this video, every exotic weapon kind of has a unique quirk, right, that makes it kind of out there and hence exotic. And the Maven, or the Heisted Accelerant shotguns, was that every time that you shot the weapon and landed the shot, it would speed up the fire rate. And this would happen as long as you dealt any damage. It could be 2 damage, it could be 100 damage, it doesn't matter. As soon as you landed damage, you would speed up the fire rate. And you're not only speeding up the fire rate, but you would also speed up the actual player, right? So you would actually speed up the speed of the player, if that makes sense. You get what I'm saying. And this is, of course, really strong for multiple obvious reasons. Of course, first, this is basically Chapter 4's version of the tac shotgun, right? So this is a weapon that you're going to shoot 2, 3, 4, 5 times, right? It's not like a pump where you're going to shoot it and you're going to switch to an SMG. And that's what made this exotic so strong, right? You're going to shoot it and then you're going to speed up the fire rate on a shotgun with an already pretty decent fire rate. And you're also going to speed up yourself. So you can imagine after you hit somebody, let's say twice for, let's say 60, by the 3rd and 4th shot, you're going to be basically shooting a fully auto shotgun that's dealing big damage. I personally think that it was better than the Heisted Breacher shotgun, which will not be on this list, spoilers, because I think the Heisted Accelerant is just the better, superior exotic shotgun. Again, I have to reiterate, this is not just one of the best exotics of all time, this is one of the best Fortnite weapons of all time. Next, let's talk about a weapon that I briefly touched on in one of my previous videos, and that is the Shadow Tracker Silence pistol. I think this pistol was always kind of underrated, but once they gave it the update that made it fully auto, it became an absolute machine and one of the best exotics ever. You not only had a pistol with a sub 1 second reload time, very minimal bloom, and very solid damage, and of course it was suppressed, and especially in a season like Chapter 4 Season 3 with a super dense jungle, you can see why this is useful. And of course, speaking about that jungle, every time you would hit somebody with this pistol, it would mark them with that little red indicator above their head. You know what I'm talking about. So you can see why this pistol was so strong. It really was kind of a do-it-all weapon. You could use it as an AR, you could use it as a sub, you could use it at close range, or you could use it at long range. And it just being fully auto was the cherry on top to make this a super good, and in my opinion, actually kind of underrated pistol. So, you know, if you had really good aim, you could absolutely run lobbies with this weapon. I definitely think it's one of the best exotics of all time. Next, let's talk about a sniper rifle, and that being the Dragon's Breath sniper rifle. In case you don't know, the Dragon's Breath sniper is basically just a bolt action with an incendiary round, that being a flame round. So of course, every time you shot it, you had the potential to not only deal fire damage to the player, but also of course to the surrounding builds and the environment. Even if you remove the fire aspect of this weapon, the actual base damage is really solid. I believe it was 116, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was 116 per shot. So that's a pretty solid shot for a sniper rifle. And in my opinion, the incendiary just adds kind of the extra benefit, right? If someone's in a 1x1, just take the sniper, shoot their box, and they'll have to move. They'll be forced to move. Of course, if they're using metal, maybe not, but you get what I'm saying. I think the only real downfall for the sniper comes from the bullet velocity and bullet drop. Obviously, I think they're kind of taking it as the incendiary round makes it a little bit heavier, so you kind of have to aim a little bit higher. Not as much as you have to do with the Reaper sniper rifle, but still a pretty substantial substantial bullet drop. Regardless though, we are talking about a sniper that is one-shot headshotting, and that is obviously very different from another exotic sniper, the Boom Heavy Sniper Rifle, which is absolutely trash. Come on, what are we doing? 10 damage, that's not going to cut it. But yeah, I do think the Dragon's Breath Sniper is honestly just a super fun weapon to use, but actually really practical, and you can do absolute work with it. Next, I want to talk about, again, one of Fortnite's best weapons of all time, that being the Heisted Blink Mag SMG. In case you don't know, this was just the heisted version of the Twin Mag SMG, which if you use that weapon, you know that is a top 10 weapon of all time. And this weapon's kind of quirk or benefit was that it would grant you a short 0-point dash ability right after reloading, right? Which we all know is super valuable. That 0-point dash is honestly really good, not only for playing defensively, right? Like if you want to shoot like a couple rounds, reload, and then kind of dash around the corner, but it's also really good for playing offensively. If you beam somebody in about, you know, half a second, you can be right in their box or right in front of them, and a lot of players weren't going to expect that. Again, I kind of touched on this with the Dragon's Breath Sniper, but like it's just a better version of the bolt action. I think the same thing could be said here. This is just a better version of the Twin Mag SMG, which was a weapon that was already very strong. As you can probably tell, I picked one of the heisted shotguns and one of the SMGs. Of course, there's two of the shotguns and two of the SMGs, and I picked one of each to be in this video. In my opinion, I just believe that the Heisted Blink Mag just outduels the run and gun SMG, that being the heisted version of the compact SMG, or otherwise known as the P90. Finally, guys, let's talk about an underrated exotic weapon, and I don't think a lot of people are going to see this one coming, but let's talk about the Rock Dualies. In my opinion, I think this is probably going to be the most controversial choice on this list, just because dualies are hit or miss for a lot of people, but I really think dual pistols on their own are underrated. But now when you add the ability to have anti-gravity, so basically just your effect of a hop rock every time you shoot the gun, is actually really valuable. Not only is this useful in a gunfight, while I will say though, it can be kind of distracting sometimes. Sometimes you shoot it and then you don't really want the hop rock effect, but you just have to get it, you know what I'm saying? Like you shoot your target and then you're trying to, you know, take their wall, but you jump and then you end up on their ceiling, that type of thing. That can be annoying, I get it. But a majorly overlooked benefit of this is the ability to just totally minimize fall damage. Of course, it's kind of the same way as the flint-knock works. If you're very close to the ground, or even if you're in the air, just shoot it, you'll have anti-gravity, and you'll be totally safe on the ground. So I think that's a really good benefit and something that gets overlooked a lot. And of course, as I previously mentioned, I feel like dual pistols on their own are actually very underrated, especially in the right hand. So give them a pretty decent hop rock ability, and of course, a super sick looking design. I think that these are one of the best exotics of all time. And I actually messed up by saying finally, because I forgot I had one more entry that I wanted to sneak in at the end here. So if you stayed for this long, consider yourself lucky. This is going to be the Chug cannon. You know, I think when we got the bandage bazooka for the first time in chapter 2 season 1, a lot of people's first thoughts were, well, why can't we just do the Chug bazooka but for shield? In the same way that a lot of people when we got the cozy campfire reacted with, you know, can we get a shield version of the cozy campfire, which of course we did with the shield keg. And I think the Chug cannon doesn't do anything really crazy, it's just good, right? Like you just get shield or health infinitely for the entire game essentially, as long as you use it in the right way. If you were able to kind of space out and always have 5 shots when you really need it the most, it could be really good. Of course, there are 2 really mega downfalls to this. I would say one, it is loud, so people know when you're using it from, you know, 10, 15, 20, 30 meters away. People are going to know that you're healing and potentially weak. Also, I will say, of course, the Chug cannon takes up 2 slots. So if you don't want to designate 2 slots for a healing item, you know, that's up to you. But I feel like the ability to have essentially, right, like let's not twist it, essentially infinite heals for the entire game is really good. But yeah, guys, that is my list for some of Fortnite's best exotic weapons and items of all time. Let me know in the comments section what you guys think. Did I miss any weapons? Is there anything that I put on here that shouldn't have been on here? I think there were a couple fringe items. For example, the heisted explosive assault rifle. I think that was really good. That was the heisted red eye. But yeah, enough of my yapping. I don't want to make this video too long. So like, comment, subscribe, all of that jazz, guys. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.